Please welcome Richard Marx.
Yeah.
Standing ovation.
Love you guys.
Plenty of mullet shots in there. Did you ever imagine they'd be coming back circa 2024?
I hoped not. But I see them now and I'm like, wow. I think that the definition of a gentleman is a guy who can grow a mullet, but chooses not to.
So true.
But also yours were blow dried. They were
Mine was fluffy.
They were fluffy.
Yeah.
They were
Fluffy
big.
mullet.
They had the volume.
It was big.
Yeah.
Sometimes they used to have to expand the doorways for the venues. to get my...
That was the thing on your rider.
Yeah.
Not like, nothing behind the scenes, but just bigger doorways.
Yeah.
You are touring with one of Australia's best and biggest voices, Tina Arena, and some of your songs are kind of similarly angsty.
Yeah.
Is that like full of longing and love and hope?
Well, everybody can relate to that.
Yeah. How are the audience? Are they just completely tormented souls?
They're just everybody's crying.
Yeah.
No, we've only started the tour last night, and Tina's sounding so great. She's such a great singer. No, it's more like a big party. Because, even though I've had those couple of big power ballads, my show is really a rock and roll show. It's an up-tempo, everybody's up and dancing, and it was great fun.
Do you have a lot of, younger fans that are finding your music, or are you finding, it's people that have been around since the beginning that are rusted on, I'm going to see you every time you come to town?
It's both, and I love those people. Sometimes, people hold up signs that they, this is my 47th show, and I feel like, oh, my God, I feel like I owe you money. It's been really wonderful to see this whole new young generation of fans who grew up because their parents were playing my records, when they were kids. And I also now run into young people who tell me that the first song they ever learned on the piano was Right Here Waiting, or
That was me. I was going to say that was me. I thought I was so cool that I could play that song on the piano when I was a kid.
It's the simplest song on the piano.
It's like the Beetlejuice thing, right? So that's giving it a whole new
which is a crazy
also.
story because Michael Keaton and I met in the 80s, and we spent a little time hanging out together, and he has one son, Sean, who I met when Sean was maybe 10 years old. And a couple of weeks ago, I wrote a song with Sean, who's this very successful songwriter in LA. And all these years later, here I am writing a killer song with Michael Keaton's son, right after Michael's done my song in Beetlejuice.
Wow.
So it was, talk about full circle, right?
Yeah. Crazy connection. You've had so many, you've connected since you were young. Like Lionel Richie really helped you, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, yeah, so next time you guys are in your car listening to the radio or at the chemist waiting in line and you hear Lionel sing all night long, all night, that's me. All night, that's me.
And what about that Swahili bit in the middle? Did you sing on that?
I did. Tombolite said demoya. Yeah, jumbo jumbo.
Yes.
Oh, wake up. We worked so hard on that bit, and Lionel sang with us. Yeah. And we finally got it, and we were going into the control room to listen back, and I said, hey, what does that translate to in English? What does it mean? And Lionel said, it's just gibberish. I made it up.
That's what you want to hear, though.
Yeah.
I was really interested that your dad was a jingle writer. Now, jingles get a bad rap, right? But it is really hard and impressive to write a really good jingle. So I was interested in, how that informed or impacted your writing later, because that is actually a real skill.
It's a real skill, and my father was a genius, but he was a really accomplished composer, arranger, conductor, jazz pianist, classical pianist. Probably the greatest single musician I ever knew, all nepotism aside. But he also had this uncanny knack to be able to come up with something really catchy musically in 30 seconds. I never wanted to do that because I knew I'd never be as good as my dad. So I have the luxury of 3 minutes or 3.5 minutes. But I do think that growing up, I sang on a bunch of commercials when I was a kid that my dad wrote. And I think growing up around that industry did sort of instill this sense of hook and catchy. And I don't think there's anything wrong with something that's memorable.
Yeah.
You know, I think sometimes
What's the
commercial music
catchiest
gets a bad rap.
one that he did? Is there like...
I don't think that they were here in Australia, so you wouldn't know necessarily.
Yeah.
One of his most famous commercials was for a tuna company called Chicken of the Sea in the 70s. And so now the older people in my audience, if I sing it to them and I go, ask any mermaid you happen to see, the audience takes over and sings the rest of it.
You've got to go see Richard Marx. Still a heartthrob.
Oh,
Ticket
thanks.
details on our website.
Thanks.